The Israeli-Palestinian conflict, a profound and deeply rooted issue, has been a point of global contention for many decades. Let's rewind to the late 19th century, when the first waves of Jewish immigrants began to arrive in Palestine, a land brimming with history and culture. It was home to a predominantly Arab and Muslim population, with Christians and Jews living amongst them. The influx of Jewish settlers, many fleeing persecution in Europe, began to shift the demographic balance. Tensions started to simmer as the existing Palestinian population feared losing their land and livelihoods. Now, fast forward to the aftermath of the First World War. The British Empire took the reins of Palestine from the defeated Ottoman Empire. In a twist of irony, the British government made promises to both the Jews and the Arabs. To the Jews, they pledged the establishment of a national home in Palestine. To the Arabs, they promised self-determination and independence. These conflicting promises, made in the Balfour Declaration and the McMahon-Hussein Correspondence respectively, were like pouring oil onto a fire. This double game played by the British only served to further inflame tensions, as both sides felt betrayed and their aspirations unfulfilled. With this backdrop, the stage was set for a conflict that would continue to smolder throughout the 20th century and beyond. The seeds of discord were planted deep within the heartland of Palestine, a land cherished by both Palestinians and Jews. And so, the seeds of the conflict were sown, setting the stage for a century of strife. The horrors of the Holocaust in Europe played a pivotal role in the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948. This was a time of monumental change, a shift in both political and geographical landscapes. The United Nations, moved by the plight of Holocaust survivors, proposed a partition plan for Palestine. This plan aimed to establish a Jewish state and an Arab state, with Jerusalem under international administration. Now, the Jewish leadership accepted this plan, but the Arab leaders and Palestinian representatives did not. They saw it as a violation of their rights to self-determination. Despite this opposition, the State of Israel was declared on May 14, 1948. However, the birth of Israel was a time of immense sorrow for the Palestinian people. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were uprooted from their homes during the war that followed Israel's declaration of independence. This mass displacement, known as the Nakba, or catastrophe, saw families torn apart, lives disrupted, and a deep sense of loss and injustice took root. The Nakba is remembered with profound grief by Palestinians every year. It symbolizes their displacement and the loss of their homeland. The repercussions of this event are still felt today, echoing through the decades and shaping the contours of the ongoing conflict. The establishment of Israel and the Nakba are two sides of the same historical coin. For one community, it marked a sanctuary, a place of refuge after years of persecution. For the other, it was a catastrophe, the beginning of a long struggle for rights and recognition. Understanding the creation of Israel and the Nakba is essential to grasping the complexities of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. These events set the stage for decades of strife, negotiations, and attempts at peace, all of which we'll delve into in our next segment. The Nakba, a catastrophe for Palestinians, remains a heart-rending chapter in the annals of this conflict. The decades following the establishment of Israel have been marked by wars, uprisings, and peace talks. This turbulent era was initiated with the Arab-Israeli War in 1948, a conflict that set the stage for years of unrest and struggle. The Six-Day War in 1967 saw Israel's territory vastly expand, further fueling the flames of discord. Intifadas, or uprisings, have been a prominent feature of this conflict. The first Intifada in the late 80s was marked by civil disobedience and protests by Palestinians. The second Intifada in the early 2000s escalated into a violent and bloody confrontation, leading to thousands of casualties on both sides. Attempts at peace have been numerous yet fleeting. The Camp David Accords in 1978 and the Oslo Accords in the 90s brought hope, albeit temporary. These agreements, while significant, failed to address key issues such as the status of Jerusalem, the right of return for Palestinian refugees, and the establishment of a Palestinian state. In the new millennium, peace talks have continued to stutter and stall. The Annapolis Conference in 2007, the Washington Talks in 2010, and the Kerry Initiative in 2013 were all attempts to restart the peace process. Yet, each one ended in disappointment, with both sides unable to reach a consensus. The recent years have seen a disturbing trend of escalation. The Gaza War in 2014, The knife Intifada in 2015 and the recent deadly airstrikes in Gaza in 2024 are testimonies to the fact that the conflict is far from resolved. And so the cycle continues, with peace seemingly just out of reach. The roots of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict run deep, with both sides holding on to deep-seated grievances and aspirations. As we delve into the heart of this enduring conflict, it's crucial to recognize the grievances and aspirations that fuel its persistence. These sentiments, deeply rooted in history, have been passed down through generations, shaping perspectives and reinforcing divisions. On one side, the Jewish population holds on to the grief of the Holocaust, a massive genocide that claimed the lives of 6 million Jews. This tragedy led to the creation of Israel, a nation envisioned as a sanctuary for a persecuted people. Today, the aspiration for a secure homeland free from the threat of extinction remains a cornerstone of Israeli sentiment. However, the creation of this homeland came at a devastating cost for Palestinians. The Nakba, or catastrophe, saw the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their homes. This deep-seated grievance is a painful wound that has yet to heal. The aspiration for self-determination and the right to return to their ancestral lands continues to drive the Palestinian struggle. The grievances of both sides are not only rooted in the past, but are also fueled by present realities. The ongoing Israeli occupation of the West Bank and the blockade of Gaza perpetuate a sense of injustice among Palestinians. Conversely, the threat of rocket attacks and suicide bombings instill fear and insecurity among Israelis. These narratives of victimhood and survival, deeply ingrained in the collective consciousness of both Israelis and Palestinians, continue to drive the conflict. The aspirations for peace, security, and justice are universal. Yet the path to these goals is obscured by the weight of historical grievances and the ongoing cycle of violence. Underneath the politics, the conflict is fueled by centuries-old narratives and aspirations. To move towards resolution, it's crucial to acknowledge these deeply entrenched sentiments and to strive for a future where both sides can realize their aspirations without infringing on the rights and security of the other. Underneath the politics, the conflict is fueled by centuries-old narratives and aspirations. A recent tragic event has once again highlighted the ongoing struggle and the dire need for a resolution. In the heart of conflict-ridden Gaza, 7 humanitarian aid workers from the non-profit World Central Kitchen met a devastating end. They were there to bring relief, food, and a glimmer of hope to a population caught in a relentless cycle of conflict and despair. They hailed from various corners of the world, including Australia, Poland, the US, Canada, the UK, and Palestine itself. The incident, a deadly airstrike, was a stark reminder of the perilous circumstances in which these brave individuals operated. Their mission was simple: to alleviate suffering, to provide sustenance, and to offer a lifeline of humanity amidst the chaos. But their lives were abruptly extinguished, their efforts cut short in an instant. This tragic event sparked international outrage and condemnation. The US President Joe Biden expressed his dismay, criticizing Israel for not doing enough to protect civilians. The Israel Defense Forces Chief of Staff apologized for the airstrikes, calling it a mistake. But apologies are not enough. Calls for an investigation, accountability, and protection of humanitarian workers echoed around the globe. But more than anything, this incident underscored the urgency for peace, a peace that has been elusive for far too long. The path forward is fraught with challenges. The scars of history run deep, and the grievances on both sides are entrenched. Yet the need for a resolution is more pressing than ever. We must remember that every life lost, every tragedy endured, is a reminder of the urgent need to end this conflict. Only by understanding the full history of the conflict can we begin to work towards a peaceful and just solution. Remember, history shapes our present, and the lessons learned can guide our future.